Can you use Texas Longhorns as livestock guardian animals?
Come on. Come on down. Come on down, come on. Come on down. Come on down, come on.
So what's up everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today it's a pretty cool May morning here in East Texas. Very damp. We just got dumped on last night. But today I'm going to talk to you guys about something that I've read about, that I've heard stories about, and then now that I've seen it firsthand, I feel like I can talk about it a little bit. And that is, can you use Texas Longhorns as livestock guardian animals? Before getting the Longhorns, I did some research on them, and what I found was different stories and different accounts and just about their demeanor and how they act, about how they can be used as livestock guardian animals, and some people actually do it. But first, you have to understand where the Longhorns have came from and what they've been through in order to, develop into this different type of cow. You see, the Longhorns, they first came over to the Americas, United States, on Christopher Columbus's second mission. They started out on the Hispaniola area, then they made their way over to Mexico and southern United States. But what happened was, during that time, the fences weren't very good, and they ended up getting out. And over hundreds of years of being out in the wild on their own, they had to evolve and change and develop differently in order to survive. So with that being said, they're not your typical kind of beef cow. They're not your typical kind of dairy cow. They had to make it on their own. And that's how they developed their long horns. When they came over here with the Spanish, their horns they still had horns, but they weren't very long. But quickly, longer horns became a necessity because of all the predators that were in the New World. So just by evolution, their horns started getting longer and longer and longer. Why? Because the cows with the longer horns were the ones that survived. Why? Because they could fend off the predators a lot better. This also meant that they had to think for themselves. The Longhorns are actually credited with probably about 40% of the extinction of the Lobo wolf, the wolves that were in Texas. They're gone now. Why? Because ranchers, they shot them, which is very unfortunate. But the Longhorns, they didn't put up with their crap. When the wolves would try and attack them, man, they'd gored them. There's stories that I've read from books that have been written over 100 years ago, how you could see a Longhorn bull and he'd have a Lobo wolf hanging off of his horn, just skewered like a shish kebab. So because they were in the wild, their mentality towards predators had to change. They had to be able to defend themselves. Why? Because if they weren't going to do it, nobody was going to do it for them, and they'd be eaten. So because it was truly survival of the fittest, or really survival of the longest horns and the ones that knew how to use them, they developed a different demeanor. And it actually helps us now because they have the long horns, they know that if I try and hurt them, they can take me out. So they're very docile. They don't really care if I'm out here with them. Longhorns in general, they're really docile cows, and they're very different cows. And needless to say, they have the weaponry in order to protect themselves. Now the question is, will they not only protect themselves, but other animals as well? And here's what I've experienced with that. You see, just recently on May 4th, which was a week ago today, we had our first surprise calf born. We named him Skywalker, May 4th. He's not a Longhorn, his mama's not a Longhorn, but they're in with our herd of Longhorns. So with his mama being a first calf heifer, some of the things that I was told to look out for was, make sure that, the calf sucks. Make sure that, at nighttime especially, that she's laying with him. So, we have predators around here. We have coyotes, we have wild pigs, we have stray dogs. There's things that can get him. There's things that, he's what, 40, 50 pounds, somewhere in there. Something can take him out. Something will look at him and go, oh, that's an easy meal. So for the first few nights, I came out to the pasture to find him and his mama Dolly, and make sure that they were, close to each other, and that he wasn't off by himself, to just, make sure that he's safe. See, this is her first calf, and you just want to make sure that she's just doing everything properly. Well, what I came out to was, I was just blown away, completely pleasantly surprised. So not only was Dolly being a great mama, she was laying down, and Skywalker, her little bull calf, was laying right next to her. I went, great. Well, that's not the only thing that I saw, and that's not what made me feel really, really good. See, we have 19 Longhorns out here, 5-6 of which are pretty fully grown. They're almost, I'd say 85% grown, filled out. So the way that they were laying down, it was Dolly, Skywalker right next to him. Then what just blew me away Longhorn, 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 Longhorn. I went, wow, this little calf is really getting taken care of by his aunts and uncles. Nothing, I mean nothing was gonna get through all of them. There's just no way. And you know, a coyote comes along, they see Skywalker in the middle of all of them, they're gonna go, yeah, I'm gonna have to think twice about that. Now it's really common the way it's supposed to be that the mama should be laying next to the baby and the mama will defend the baby. Now what's pretty uncommon with herds of cows is for them to all be on the perimeter protecting it. I mean, it went out there and I went, good job girls, and the boys too, really. But it was the girls are the bigger ones, and our bull Jordan was laying right kind of near them. I mean, it was just like, it made me feel really good. And this wasn't the only thing that happened. It was probably close to about a month ago now that it was actually right in this paddock here that they were in, because we move them every day, so in 30 days they're back here in this paddock. I'm in the house, I'm in the office doing some work, and our dogs, we have 5 dogs, 2 of which are Great Pyrenees Anatolian Shepherds. They're livestock guardians. They are going nuts, they're going ballistic. So I look out, get the binoculars, and I see in the back pasture the neighbor's cows. They start running. I'm going, what's going on? I look closer and I see 2 dogs chasing them around. They weren't our dogs, they were just strays from the area. They were chasing the calves around. And you know, if a wild dog or a stray dog, if you want, whatever you want to call it, they get a hold of a calf, they can do some damage. You know, they might just be playing, but they can also, it puts a lot of stress on the calves, but they can really hurt them if, you know, they're good size. Some of the dogs are bigger than the calves. They could kill them. So this is happening over here, but the herd's running this way, and the dogs kind of take off from the herd. They got done chasing those cows. So I was like, oh, they're heading right towards ours. Great. I go, throw my boots on, I come out to the pasture. I kind of make my way out towards them, but they're already coming this way. You know, dogs a lot faster, and plus I gotta get my boots on. They're already coming towards our herd. Now, because at the time we didn't have Skywalker, I wasn't too necessarily concerned about it, but you just don't want stray dogs around. Why? Because like I said, it just causes stress on your animals, and it's just not something that you want. So I'm making my way out this way, and I see the dogs. They start veering towards our side of the fence. I'm going, that's not good. They make their way through the barbed wire, and now they're on our property. And they start running at our herd of cows. I'm going, oh, this is not gonna be good. I mean, I don't think the dogs were gonna hurt the cows. I just don't want the cows to get freaked and start running through the, you know, electric fences that we have up and just cause a mess. Well, what happened, I was really pleasantly surprised. The dogs, they start running at our herd, and the herd, they're mostly down that way, and the dogs are running in this direction. And I'm watching it happen, and I'm trying to jog out there and, you know, see what I can do to make it stop. Well, our cows see it, they hear them, and they react. Betty, our main lead cow with the big horns that you see, she's the white one back there. Jordan, our little bull, he's getting his job done now. Yoli, Ellie, and Rose, some of our other bigger cows, they turn and they start charging at the dogs. They start running at them, not away from them, at them. The 2 dogs see this and they try and make an about face and take off. Why? Because when you have, you know, a 900,000 pound longhorn running at you, a few of them, yeah, you're gonna get a little bit freaked. You're gonna get a little bit spooked. These dogs tried turning around and running, but because the cows had the momentum and they were just overall faster than them, Betty got to them first. And what she did was, it's really impressive actually. She went, took her horn, her right horn, got underneath the dog, didn't puncture it, just got underneath it, like, you know, in its belly area, and she went up, and the dog did a complete 360 in midair. I mean, the dog was fine, looked like it was fine, because it landed right back up on his feet, and it took off running. It went through the fence, got through the other dog, met up with the other dog, and just took off. Those dogs are not coming back. Now, it's common for, you know, a different kind of beef cow to be able to do something like that, kind of run off the dog. Now, it doesn't happen nearly as often, and it wouldn't happen like this, to where you had 5, 6 longhorns charging at it. And this goes back to the time in the wild, because I've read stories in those old books to where, okay, they get surrounded by predators. The longhorns, the cows mostly, will go and circle up the young. We'll put the young in the middle, and they'll go and swing their horns, while where the lead cows and the bulls would actually go run off the predators. There's been stories about, and don't condone this at all, and it's pretty messed up. Well, they'll go take a grizzly bear back, you know, when they had nothing else to entertain them. They go take a grizzly bear and a longhorn bull, throw it in an arena together. 60% of the time, that longhorn bull would take out the grizzly bear. I mean, they're just different. Now you see out here that we do have 2 llamas. So we have multiple forms of protection. The llamas, they're vicious as can be. If the longhorns didn't get those dogs, it's probably a good thing that the llamas didn't, because what the llamas do is they'll go try and flip the dog on its stomach or on its back and go with its hooves and try and disembowel it. I mean, they are vicious. So the dogs were pretty lucky that the llamas didn't get to them, because those guys are, 350 pounds and they're just solid as a rock. And the reason that we have the llamas is because in a few weeks we're getting our first alpacas, and we needed something to protect them. Now, with the alpacas that we're getting, would I feel comfortable throwing them out here with our herd of Longhorns without the llamas? Because the alpacas, they're a lot smaller, they're about half the size, and especially the younger ones or the older ones, yeah, a coyote, can take them out, a stray dog, a pig. You see, they're very susceptible to get eaten. And after what I've seen and getting to know these cows after the last 14 months of having them, I went, yeah, I would. Without the llamas, I'd feel very, very comfortable putting our alpacas out here with the Longhorns and knowing that they'd be safe. And why is that? Because the Longhorns and the llamas, man, they get along. They're friends. They go and sleep in the same, cow piles, or that's kind of what I like to call them, all in the same area at night. They just mix in really well. And the Longhorns, they know that the llamas are supposed to be here because I introduced them. And you know what? If they were, alpacas and they were a lot smaller, I'd have no doubt that the Longhorns would protect them. You see, what some people do is they'll go get a Longhorn steer and go throw it in with their sheep flock. Now, not a baby Longhorn, one that's 3-4 years old that has the real real Longhorns now, and they'll go throw it in with their sheep flock, and they will feel safe, using that Longhorn to protect their sheep. Now, am I saying that every Longhorn is going to have that instinct to, run off a dog, run off a coyote, run off whatever? No, I think it has to do with each individual animal's temperament. You see, we have multiple levels of protection here. Like I said, we have the llamas, we have the dogs, we have the electric fence. So there's a lot of different things involved to where I feel comfortable having these guys out here. I know Skywalker, nothing's going to happen to him. But the problem is with our livestock guardian dogs, their job is to guard livestock, is that we live off a 70-mile-an-hour highway, and I don't trust our fences, and I know those dogs, they will get out, and that's just a death trap for them. So we keep them in our backyard, and they see half the property. They can protect that area, that, 12, 15, 16 acres that are over there. And in that area, we have no problems with coyotes, we have no problems with pigs. I don't see anything over there. Why? Because the dogs are barking at them. On this side of the property here, things are a little bit more vulnerable because the dogs don't see them. So there's only one level of protection per se, okay, and that's the llamas. But now, after what I've seen, they're not the traditional livestock guardian animal, but I would feel comfortable throwing, Betty, Yoli, one of our bigger Longhorns, in with, a flock of sheep, some goats, some, I wouldn't do chickens. I wouldn't do it with chickens because aerial predators will be the issue with that. They won't run off a hawk, they won't, run off a vulture or whatever. But if I had them in a big, Premier One net full of 1,000 chickens, I know that if for some reason that fence got off or a coyote got in, the chickens are going to be fine because a Longhorn will take it out. Now, I don't want to get you guys confused in saying that, hey, all you need is a Longhorn to go throw it in with your flock of sheep and it'll be safe. Always have multiple levels of protection. Like we have the dogs, we have the llamas, we have the cows, and we have the electric fence. So I feel very comfortable that, for the most part, nothing's going to mess with our animals. And that's especially said when we do get our alpacas and they have their babies. Guess what? I'm not going to be overly concerned with predators. Why? Because I'm going to keep them in with the Longhorns. I'm going to keep them in with the llamas, and they're going to move every day. So they're moving away from their parasites in on our mob grazing setup. They're just going to be part of the herd. And I know that the cows will accept them. I know the llamas will accept them. And I know when they're on that side of the farm that the dogs will bark off anything that, comes their way. So if this intrigues you about using Longhorns as livestock guardians, I encourage you to do a little bit more research. Go read the stories that I read. Go read some of the books, some of the old Longhorn books that are out there. I mean, they're actually just a fun read, and it's really cool to see the history and just what they've gone through and how they've developed. And just remember, it is, in most cases, animal specific. It's not just breed specific. But if you're looking for a livestock guardian animal, and you don't want to go with dogs because you're like on the highway like us, you can't find any llamas in your area, you don't want to go with a donkey, really consider using a Longhorn. Because I really do believe, and after everything that I've read and all the stories that I've heard, that they can get the job done and nothing's gonna mess with them. I mean, think about it. Look at those weapons that they have. If you're a coyote and you're 35 pounds, are you gonna go, I'm gonna go mess with that Longhorn? Of course not. You're gonna go find a bunny. You're gonna go find, a calf that has no horns or something like that. You're gonna go find a sheep that's not right in the middle of the Longhorns. I mean, when you think about it that way, nothing's gonna mess with these guys. I mean, they're just too big. They're just too, they got too many weapons. And reality is, they're just too smart. Even when you compare them to our Charolais Angus crosses, these Longhorns, you can see them thinking, you can see them computing. So I hope you got something out of this video and maybe opened your mind up to a different version of a livestock guardian animal. And if you want to see more videos like this, hit that subscribe button down below, ring the notification bell so you get notified when we put up new videos, hit the like button because it really does help with the YouTube algorithm, and then drop a comment if you like. Alright, until next time, see ya.